Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good morning. It is the Earthmaster back here on this Thursday, October 5th, 2023, about 10:12 a.m. California time. Latest movement looks like a 2.2 over here around the beautiful state of Oklahoma. Maybe potentially out there around Ardmore, it looks like. Latest earthquake on the Earthquake 3D globe. We did see some activity ramping up along the big island of Hawaii, there at Kilauea Volcano. We'll check that out here in just a minute. We still also seen some activity stirring up here across the Izu Islands, Japan region. Quite a few volcanoes out here. We were chatting about that last night, how potentially this could be related to volcanic activity. You can see these underwater submarine volcanoes, quite a few of these peaks out here, but this activity kind of sits in a what looks like a crater type area. I really don't think there's any super volcano out there, and I don't think it's a start of a super volcano, and I don't think it's actually related to, at least for now, I don't think it's related to volcanic activity. And the reason why is because we're seeing distinctly two separate swarms here indicating pressure along the plate boundary. Let me bring back the last 7 days or so. Most of the events have been right here. Here's all the seamounts, and there's some other ones in here as well, just not marked as far as the volcanoes go, but this whole area is just riddled with quite a few volcano islands. But looking out past here, the last 7 days or so, we've seen two distinct earthquake swarms, and basically in the same location. If you really think about it, this is very close proximity to one another, and the reason why I believe this is more stress plate strain compared to volcanic activities is simply due to this secondary swarm going on, and also the larger scale movement activity that we've seen roughly along the western edge here of the Pacific plate, or the Filipino plate. Let me bring back was it yesterday when we seen that 6.4 early yesterday morning? So I think the strain out here is what's really building and creating these earthquakes here in this area. And by the way, we did see overnight a couple more earthquakes there after midnight in the upper 4 range. So they are still continuing, although it looks like in the past couple hours it's calmed down. But I still think we could see some larger scale activity out here. And looking out at the last week, well, let's see if we can go back to the last 30 days or so. Trying to look for some quiet zones out here. We did see a little bit of activity out here across the East China Sea. I'm more kind of worried about this region right here. The last 7 days, weak activity, 2.5 and above. Of course, that's for the States. It's going to be 4.0 and above here, or 4.5, excuse me. We have not really seen any activity here across this region. And with all this strain and stress kind of working its way west-northward, we did see a little bit down here, and I still think it's associated with the general plate stress out here in general across the Filipino plate. But looking at some of these seismic quiet zones is out here across Taiwan northeastward, and also the Mariana Trench down here. It's very quiet. So just kind of watch this, see how it plays out. Could see a couple more swarms here, or a couple more earthquakes, and then it could just quiet down, or we could see something much bigger brewing here throughout the day or in the coming days. That could have, this could have been an indicator of that bigger movement. These could be precursor earthquakes. You never know. But as far as volcanic activity goes, I'm really uncertain on if that's what's taken place down here. It doesn't look like it's around any specific peak areas. You can see them right here. But there is definitely a little interesting drawn out type crater here, which is rather large. It looks like maybe about 30 miles or so in width here. But we'll just continue to watch that. I'm leaning towards the stress a little bit more than I am volcanic activity, unless there's a super volcano down there, but I don't think so. You never know, though. We don't know everything, right? Everything's not discovered yet. 1.6 down here along the Brawley seismic zone. Looks like things stirring up. Well, I can't really say stirring up. It got one earthquake out here. Not a big deal. Some yesterday, some smaller quakes. Generally, though, for the most part, California, Southern California, quiet in the last 24 hours. We did have some earthquake activity out here across this borax plant. Kind of interesting here where this earthquake struck yesterday, 3.5, and a couple other earthquakes, relatively shallow out here across this borax mining area. Not for sure how far they're digging down there, but it may be this area may be strained. Obviously, we know the area is strained. I guess I don't know if it's it can't really be similar to oil pumping operations. But either way, it looks like some earthquake activity occurring around this facility yesterday. Kind of watch that. It's a little odd. Up in Northern California, a couple earthquakes here this morning near the Cascadia subduction zone. These are subduction zone earthquakes, a 2.6, 16 kilometers deep, and a 2.0 there, 18 kilometers deep, all into the subduction zone here of the mega thrust area. Nothing major brewing there for now, though. Washington area getting a handful of earthquakes, including Mount St. Helens, and seen some activity there at just north of Seattle yesterday. The earthquake swarm out here, still just kind of getting some small microquakes. We'll continue to watch that, though. All right, the Big Island of Hawaii definitely seen some earthquake activity ramping up overnight, and right now, this kind of looks like this swarm's kicking up here across Kilauea Volcano. This is a good sign of potentially something brewing underneath the area again. I know the USGS put out their little notification stating that they don't expect it to pick back up due to past events, eruptive events. But you can't really say that, though, on a professional standpoint, though, right? You can't just say, well, this one's going to be identical to the last eruption that we had back in 1983, 1971, and so on. No single eruption is going to be the exact same, and the after effects go along with that, right? So it looks like things are stirring back up out here in a linear fashion, with about 46 earthquakes or so in this area, all down there at about 1.5, 1.8 kilometers below surface, where we would expect to see some magma on the move. So let's go ahead and check out the latest image here. Let me refresh this, make sure we got it. Well, I got rid of it here. Hold on a second. Zoom in here is one of these looking over the area. There's thermal. That's always going to be somewhat hot, right? Because there's still well, here's a little image this morning. There's still obviously volcanic gases seeping up through the cracks there at Lava Lake. That one's offline. Here's a little bit broader overview of the Lava Lake area up here. And as you can see, there's still volcanic gases going on here across areas of the region. Now, the tilt meter here has definitely gone up over the past, well, here's the past 2 days. Timothy here kind of pointed this out yesterday, how this is a little sharp uptick event going on here. Not a huge spike, similar to what we've seen back before the eruption. I did not mean to close that out, which is going to be right here. We did see that peak up just right around the eruption time, or just, right prior to it. And then as the magma made its way to the surface, to lava, it depleted the system, which indicating the deflation here. But since the event stopped, since the eruption halted around the 14th or 15th here, we've seen that gradually take a turn back upstream here. And you can see that little period of inflation, a little bit of deflation, a little steady event here over the last couple days up until well, like I said, up until about 2 days ago, we've seen this thing kick back up in the inflation stage. So just kind of watching this for earthquake activity, and that's what we're seeing, right? I always said if we're going to see this thing stir back up, watch for the earthquake activity, and it's kicking up. So I'm going to be watching this pretty closely. See if USGS has anything on this. I don't think they do. I mean, their last informational statement here, this is put out the 3rd. And of course, let's see here. They say future eruptions at Kilauea Summit remain possible, and HVO continues to monitor the activity. But prior to these little updates here, they said that they expect it not to pick back up due to historical eruptions. I mean, that's what their wording was specifically. So we can even go back here to the previous week. Here we go. It is unlikely that the recent eruption will resume based on the behavior of past short-lived summit fissure eruptions. And they use these dates right here. So, again, these are not identical, right? Do we know specifically that they mimic every single previous eruption? No, we don't. So this might just be a proven point here if this thing decides to kick back up. But for right now, they only have that weekly update. We'll see if they chime in on this earthquake swarm that's kicking up there across the Kilauea volcano. I think it's interesting, though, for sure. I don't think we're done yet. Now, if this activity was stirring up right here around the lava lake area, a lot of times when the lake area is cooling, the magma, the heated surface still below this area, somewhat subsides and creates these little earthquakes with the subsidence and the deflation. But we're continuing to see inflation, earthquake swarming leading up towards this area. This is on the southern edge here of Kilauea volcano, outside the lava lake region. So it'd definitely be interesting to see if this thing kicks back up. I think it is. I mean, you got inflation, you got earthquake activity. We'll continue to watch that. See if the USGS puts out notification a little bit later on this afternoon. I think they will. That's a lot of earthquake activity occurring in a short amount of time for just for it sitting there. All right, what else we got here? States, rest of the states pretty quiet. Well, I can't really say super quiet out here in Texas. Oil fields getting hit quite a bit. And some movement up in Oklahoma as well. The latest one, there's that 2.2. Yeah, it's close to Ardmore. I do like staying out here in this area. Every time I fly out to Oklahoma region, I prefer to stay away from the bigger cities. OKC area's got I mean, there's some cool stuff up there in the big city, but I prefer to stay out in the rural areas of Oklahoma. There is definitely some beautiful little towns out there and nice people. 2.2. All right, what else do we got? Anything major going on, stirring up overnight, aside from couple of the events there that I just discussed? Nothing going on across South America. A couple small earthquakes. New Zealand down here, I'm not really seeing anything stirring up on the USGS map. Looks like a handful of smaller earthquakes there that we mentioned last night in the update. Threes. Really no huge advancement here across the Java Trench. I did say to keep an eye on this area just in case we do see that pressure and momentum work its way up around this plate boundary. This is some older movement quakes here. Looks like there was 4.4. When was that? 4.4. Well, the USGS not showing it out here. But some older movement quakes there, I think from late last night, maybe. So most of the newer quakes, again, in the white circles indicating here around this cluster area, always taking place here in this region. Still got activity stirring up here across the Izu Islands region, Japan, there along that trench area. So we'll see what today brings. 3.5 up here outside of the Himalayas. Still seeing quite a bit of movement along this plate boundary. Really haven't covered too much activity out here, but this This region here near Nepal, northern India, major subduction zone here. This area is very capable of producing some large damaging earthquakes. Any subduction zone is here. And I think a certain area up here is well overdue. Maybe we'll cover that again a little bit later tonight. But I got to get going. I got a busy day ahead of me. 3.0 Poland. One earthquake down here in South Africa. 3.7 USGS showing that outside of the Johannesburg area. Another big city. I don't know. I still think it'd be cool to visit some of these cities out here in the international communities. I know I keep saying I'm not a big fan of big cities, but I study, one of my classes is geography here at the college I'm attending, and it's interesting to learn all about the people, the culture, the surroundings, what makes this city tick, or any city for that matter, and their resources that they utilize to sustain the communities out here. It's pretty neat to learn about that, but that is a huge city. Goodness, that stretches for miles and miles and miles and miles. Goodness. All right, so going to go past that. Either way, there's a lot of different countries out there that are absolutely beautiful, and it'd be cool to visit one of these days. But I think, just real quick off topic, I would love to visit the Ireland area, and the reason why is because a lot of my distant family is from this area. I do have a lot of Irish in me, and I also love these cliffs over here. You always seen them in travel videos and whatnot, but I would love to visit that area one of these days. Once I hit the Powerball, never know. Nobody hit it again. All right, what else we got here, folks? Way off topic. Maybe I should start up a morning show. Morning coffee with the Earthmaster. Probably not. I can have some crazy, wild opinions at times. I'm sure you guys know that. All right. Space weather activity. Again, as I mentioned the past couple videos, just kind of taking it easy there on the sun for now. There's not a whole lot of flaring going on. We did see a little mid-grade C flare overnight. Not a big deal whatsoever. Let's see, where's that the filament right here? Still kind of looking at us, but I'm not for certain if this thing's going to blast off or not. It looks like it's fairly, it hasn't really moved much over the last few days. Another little one here. We do have a sunspot directly facing us. Let's see which one that is. It's going to be 3452. This is last night's image. Most recent image right here. Still shows, it's fairly large, but notice this huge gap in separation between these magnetic field colors. There's a little area, looks like it's trying to form between this main core, but it's just not. I don't think it's going to do it. It looks pretty wimpy here in my book in terms of solar flare activity. And all these other sunspots here are just dissipating. Kind of like a thunderstorm. You're hoping that it'll come your way, and then it just dissipates, and you're left with a couple sprinkles. At least that's what I think anyway. Every time I see a thunderstorm, I want it to come towards me. Towards the eastern limb here of the sun, we do have a couple sunspots out here. Not looking promising, at least from this view, but we'll continue to watch that. See what comes around the bend. Severe weather threat is very low today. Way down south in Texas, Brownsville, Mission, Texas area. Marginal risk for some severe weather. Doesn't look like any tornado threat. Main threat's going to be a little bit of wind coming from those thunderstorm gusts, but that's about it. Obviously, we do have thunderstorms out there throughout the day, but it doesn't look like there's any major threat out there. This looks pretty quiet. All right, long-term weather models here real quick. Take a glance here. We'll put this into motion. Of course, the green. Blue up here in Canada is snow. Put this into motion. We are going to be looking at some cooler temperatures there for the eastern portion of the country. California, looks like we do have a cold front, low pressure system bringing some rain early next week to my area and the Pacific Northwest. I love it. And Looks like maybe some snow coming up here for Nebraska. We'll see if that rings true or not. Oh man, that's a huge atmospheric river here for the Seattle area. Doesn't really get down into Northern California, but either way, it's getting close. You know, it is that time of year where patterns start to change. Things start getting interesting there. We got an El Nino event, you know, still stirred up. It's gaining strength still. It's expected to be a strong El Nino. Here's the difference from average in terms of the sea surface area temperatures. This is from August. Not for sure why they haven't put September up here. I think they will in the coming days, but they continue to show warming out here. A little bit of cooling stretching out across this area. But we'll have to take a look and see once they get this other map out. But chance of a strong El Nino is still above about 70% or so. And for us here in the California area, that means that we could be seeing some stronger winter storms out here, bringing with it, you know, some good, decent rainfall. Are we still live? Looks like we are. I'm not for sure what's going on with the USGS there. See, their website's down. Or am I down? There's Yellowstone. Look at that. USGS not working. I wonder what's going on here. Space weather is working just fine. National Hurricane Center is working just fine. USGS not working. What's going on here? All right, well, maybe that's a sign not to... look at that. It's just sitting there hanging up. Nada. Zip zero. It's not my internet because this is working just fine here too. All right, well, we'll catch you guys back here a little bit later. I'll be watching that Kilauea volcano. We do have a couple different, well, actually we have one seismograph station here near the, I guess I better keep it like that. This is going to be the Hot Caves area. I'm sure you'll see some seismograph activity there with the ongoing earthquake activity across the Kilauea volcano. Again, we'll continue to watch that and report back on it if anything major changes. Have a good day. Enjoy your Thursday and stay safe out there, everyone. Peace out.